Today, we're diving into the really powerful ideas from the first 5 chapters of Debbie Pearl's Create a Better Brain Through Neuroplasticity. It's basically a manual that says we can actively shape not just our own minds, but the minds of our children too. Right off the bat, the book hits you with this huge question. And the point is, this isn't some fantasy. It's a real possibility, all thanks to the science of neuroplasticity. The core idea here is that we aren't just stuck with the brain we're born with. We can literally be the architects of our own minds. So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the science, what neuroplasticity actually is. Then we'll see why that first year of life is so important. And then we'll get into the practical stuff, the tools the author recommends, from music all the way to the simple power of play. Okay, first step, the brain that changes. The author frames this not as some dense, complicated science, but as a real message of hope. It's this incredible idea that no matter what, change is always possible. Yeah, the author actually calls this book Neuroplasticity 101, and for good reason. The whole point is to take this amazing science out of the ivory tower and put its power directly into the hands of parents. Think of it as a practical guide for how to use these ideas in your daily life to make a real, lasting difference. So what is this stuff anyway? Well, at its heart, neuroplasticity is just the brain's amazing ability to rewire itself by forming new connections. The book really emphasizes that we are not prisoners of our genes or our past. Our brains can and absolutely do change. And this quote just flips the old way of thinking completely on its head. It's a huge shift, right? We go from seeing ourselves as just a product of our biology to seeing ourselves as the active creators of our own minds. The big takeaway here is that we have agency. We're in the driver's seat. So if we have this incredible power to shape the brain, when is it most important? Well, the author argues at the foundation for, everything gets built right at the very beginning of life. The book argues that that first year is absolutely foundational. I mean, the experiences, the environment, the interactions a baby has during this time, that's what lays down the neural wiring that's going to support their intellectual and emotional life for decades to come. To really illustrate this, the author brings up a concept you might have heard of, the 80-20 rule. The idea is that the experiences in the first 20% of a person's life can have a whopping 80% impact on who they become. It's a pretty dramatic way to show just how incredibly important those early years are. And this is just a brilliant way to picture it. The book uses the analogy of an arrow. I mean, think about it. A tiny, tiny change in the angle as it leaves the bow makes a massive difference in where it ends up landing, right? Well, the same is true for early development. Small, positive inputs early on can lead to way better outcomes down the road. Okay, so how do we make those positive inputs? The very first practical tool the author gives us is music, which is seen as this really powerful way to help wire up a developing brain. According to the book, exposing a child to music, especially classical stuff like Mozart and Vivaldi, even when they're still in the womb, isn't just nice. It's presented as an activity that literally builds more neural connections all over the brain. And the more connections, the author says, the smarter they'll be. Building on that idea, the book explores how there isn't just one single path to learning. It really encourages taking a multisensory approach, creating a rich environment that fires up all the senses. And I love this part because the author frames all these tips as a personal reflection. It makes the advice feel so grounded and relatable. This isn't just theory, it's wisdom that came from experience, just now being seen through this new lens of neuroscience. So what does this look like in the real world? Well, the book gives a bunch of examples. It's not just about playing music, but actually having instruments around. It's about creating a world full of words by labeling the furniture, and even using herbs to engage the sense of smell. Each one of these is just another road to the brain, designed to light up as many senses as possible. And this all leads us to one of the most famous sayings in all of neuroscience. It's really the engine behind every single one of these suggestions. The rule is this: things that fire together, wire together. That's it. That's the fundamental principle. Every single time a child has an experience, hearing music, seeing a word, smelling an herb, neurons are firing in their brain. And when you repeat those experiences, the connections between those neurons get stronger and stronger. That is literally how the brain builds itself. This brings us to the final and, you could argue, maybe the most important tool that's discussed in the book's early chapters, just bringing back play. The author argues that play isn't just a fun little break from learning, it is learning. It's the ultimate brain-building activity. It's where kids get to pull everything together. Their senses, their motor skills, their social skills. It's the natural process where all those neural pathways get wired together in a way that actually means something. And so we end right where we started, with a question. If this book is right, if our brains really are the product of our experiences, then the only question that matters is, what are you actively creating today for yourself and for the children in your life?